Getting signed to a record deal is a dream for just about every artist who wants to have a career in music. No matter how good your music is, unless you sign to a major record label, chances are you won't get the exposure you deserve and you won't make money from your music. The record deal is what solidifies that you are a professional artist who's able to make a living off your music. This alone has convinced millions of artists to chase after the approval of the record labels, hoping they get their big break. For the very few artists that get that record deal meeting and get signed by a major label, it doesn't take long for them to realize what they wanted wasn't at all what they expected. They quickly catch on to the fact that the record labels are really just trying to rob them blind. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos every other day exposing the truth. In today's episode, we will be talking about shady record labels robbing their artists blind. But before we begin, I just wanted to let my patrons know that a new Patreon exclusive is dropping tomorrow. This video is about a police officer who discovers a secret satanic cult for the elite in New York City. If you're one of my Patreon members, you can expect that video early tomorrow, so don't miss it. Thank you all. Now let's get right into it. Getting a record deal is possibly the most anticipated moment every artist hopes for. They dedicate their lives to making music in hopes a record label would one day discover their music and believe in them enough to invest some money in their vision. When an artist gets discovered and a record label reaches out, that's their big break. Chances are, if they sign the deal, they will be a big mainstream artist. The label has the money, connections, and marketing plans to get a talented artist to the top. This is why most artists believe they need that record label to sign them in order to make it big. Only after the artist signs the deal and blows up is when they realize the record label was never truly on their side. Instead, they were only building them up so that they can use them to make money. While the artist is putting in all the work, the record label is collecting all the money. When it's time to pay the artist, they realize they have been bamboozled. Most record deals are truly just scams created to put as much money as possible in the pockets of music executives. In today's episode, I'm going to explain exactly how these scummy record deals work and how they trap thousands of artists in deals that are designed to keep the artists in debt. In order to understand how record labels rob their artists, we must first understand how record deals work. If you saw my video, The Truth About Record Labels 3 years ago, you would already know how these record deals work. But considering it's been 3 years and I have gained over 270,000 new followers since then, most of you might have not seen that video. So let me give you a quick overview of how record deals work. But if you want an in-depth look, make sure you check this video out after this one. If you want to watch it, head over to my channel page, go to videos, hit the popular filter at the top, and it'll be the first video that pops up. Now, the way a record deal works is rather disturbing. Essentially, a record deal is a high-interest loan designed to keep the artist in debt and enslaved to the label. When an artist signs a record deal, they are going into a partnership with the record label they get signed to. The partnership usually works like this. The record label provides funding and uses their connections and marketing to blow an artist up. So an artist will sign a deal with the label that states the label will provide funding and other services for a percentage of future earnings made by the artist before the expenses are paid. Most record deals, especially for new artists, are usually 20-80 split, with 20% of the profit of the music going to the artist while the other 80% goes to the record label. Sometimes it's even lower, going down to as low as 12%, which already tells us most of the money made by the music ends up in the hands of the labels. Now, making music is expensive. Artists need to pay for studio time, producers, music videos, and so on. This can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes even millions. Money that an inspiring artist just normally doesn't have access to. But the label does have that kind of money. When an artist signs a record deal, the label provides that initial funding to the artist by lending them the money they need to get their career going. The label pays for all the expenses needed to blow an artist up, but they are expecting the artist to pay them back for every dollar and dime they spent plus interest. This is where most artists get confused, as they believe that when they sign a record deal, they are getting free money from the record label. This is not the case at all. Let me break it down. If an artist signs a $1 million deal, all this means is that the record label is lending that artist $1 million. Now, let's say the label signed the artist for a $1 million deal. The money will be distributed like this. When the artist signs the deal, they get an advance out of the $1 million. An advance is an upfront payment from the total amount of the deal, which in this case is $1 million. Let's say the label gives the artist $300,000 as an advance. This is the money you usually see the artist flexing with online after they sign the deal. Technically, is not even their money. It's money they borrowed from the record labels. Now this means that out of the artist's $1 million deal, they only have $700,000 left because they got an advance of $300K, but they now owe the label $300,000. Now with the remaining $700,000 left from the deal, the record label uses it to fund the artist's career. They pay for studio time, producers, designers, photo shoots, music videos, and everything in between. Let's say the record label spent $800,000 after paying for all those important things. This means the artist now owes the record label $1.1 million. Before the artist even gets a hit song or sees any success, they are already in a high amount of debt. Now, let's say the artists were able to make a massive hit song that everyone loves, which makes around $1.5 million. You may be thinking the artist is now debt-free and actually made some money, right? Well, no, not at all. This is when record deals get scummy and show their true colors. While the artist did just make $1.5 million, they have to give 80% to the record label before paying back any expenses. Key word, before. So if the label is getting 80% of what the music makes, which is $1.5 million, they keep $1.2 million as their profit. Now you might be saying, well, at least the artist made $300,000, which is better than nothing. Well, no, you're wrong again. The artist actually makes $0 because the remaining $300,000 is applied to the $1.1 million the artist owes the label. Remember, the artist owed the record label $1.1 million as that's what they invested in their music. Yes, the artist made $1.5 million, but the record label takes their 80% cut first and then applies the remaining money left to the debt the artist owes. This means that the artist now owes the label $800,000 plus whatever interest they're being charged. This is the trap, and this is how these deals are designed to rob the artist blind. Now let's say the artist gets lucky and manages to drop multiple hit songs and is getting close to paying the labels back. Let's say you only owe the label $100,000, and with your next hit song, your debt is cleared. This is when the labels come with a new deal worth more than the last one to put these artists in further debt. Now they are offering the artists $5 million with a bigger upfront advance. It's all designed to keep these artists in debt and under the label's control. This keeps the artist forever working to pay off the label. Artists rarely get any money from their music after the initial advance they got when they signed. The money that they ever get is just loaned to them by the labels. It gets worse as the labels will always trick artists into selling all of their publishing and masters to the label. This is exactly what P. Diddy did to Mace, as Diddy tricked Mace into selling him his masters. An artist's publishing and masters are the way an artist makes money from their music. So if an artist signs away their publishing and masters, they are no longer going to be making money from their music, even after their deal with the label ends. This is exactly what happened to singer Ne-Yo, who when he was coming up signed a bad deal that not only left him broke, but also without the rights to his early music. According to Ne-Yo, he signed a deal with Columbia Records when he was still new in the industry. He claims that the record labels controlled everything about him, how he dressed, what producers he worked with, and what music he should write. By the end of his deal, he left the label broke and with no hope, as he was shelved because he couldn't get a hit song. Sometime later, Ne-Yo was driving to a job interview when he out of nowhere heard one of his songs on the radio being sung by another artist. This broke Ne-Yo, as he couldn't believe the record labels just stole his song and gave it to another artist.
Well, okay, so before my deal with Def Jam, where everybody got to know Ne-Yo, I went by my regular name Schaefer, and I had a deal with Columbia Records. This was a few years before the Def Jam deal, and that basically went left because I didn't know that I could say no to stuff. And they basically had me. It was like, no, don't write these type of songs. No, don't work with those producers. Work with these producers. No, don't wear that. Wear this. Like they basically had me being who they wanted me to be, which is kind of on some like Baby Tyrese back then. That's who they wanted me to be. And I didn't like it. So like I went to them and asked if I could write a couple more songs, maybe made more sense with who I am. And they were like, well, no, your budget's depleted. That is when I learned that back day. I don't know if this still happens, but back day. So your A&R will fly you out, you know, because mind you, I'm still living in Vegas. So they fly me to New York, take me to this fancy restaurant. Every time I come to New York, we go to this fancy restaurant. And then as soon as the bill comes, we throw out a credit card, right? I had no idea that my budget is on that credit card. So I just paid for that dinner. No clue that that money is mine. But oh no, don't worry about it. We got throw that credit card
That's
down.
scummy.
Spent damn near my whole budget on just dinner, just flying to New York, eating dinner. Again, they was having me write songs that they wanted me to write, work with the producers that they wanted me to work with. They had my itch already set for me. So when I went back to them trying to record some more songs, they're like, budget depleted. And I'm like, well, I don't. This album is not. I'm listening to this music and like, this ain't me, bro. Like, I don't, like, bro, it's not supposed to be you. Smoke and mirrors. I'm like, nah, damn, that smoke and mirrors. So they shelved me for like 2 years. I sat on Columbia Records. Couldn't do nothing, couldn't go nowhere. So my manager at the time went to them and eventually got them to let me go, but they kept their song that I wrote, kept whole album. And at this time, I really don't know nothing about publishing and none of that, so I don't care. I'm like, fine, I just want to be free. So, another part to the story. A few months after that, right, I'm actually driving en route to a job interview, and a song comes on the radio. If I wanted that girl, then I would be with that girl, but that one ain't for me. Marcus Houston.
Oh, yes, I know. I was thinking, why not that? Yes.
That song was supposed to be my first single when I was signed to Columbia Records. They gave it to Marcus Houston. Didn't tell me. I got no money, no nothing. I'm on my way to a job interview, crushed, destroyed, because I'm like, my foot was right in the door. I was right there. Yeah.
As you heard for yourself, Neo explained how he signed a bad deal and was robbed for the rights to his music. He couldn't do anything as he sold the label his rights when he signed that record deal. This is common practice in the music industry, and just one of the techniques the labels use to rob their artists blind. We all remember how Birdman robbed Lil Wayne and didn't want to pay Lil Wayne millions of dollars that he owed him. Even though it eventually settled, it got to the point that it was believed Birdman had got Young Thug and his manager to try to get rid of Lil Wayne. You may be thinking this all could be avoided if the artist had a good lawyer. Well, the thing is, the labels also rigged that as well. Most top entertainment lawyers are working directly with the labels even though they're not supposed to. The artist's lawyer is supposed to be someone who's on the side of the artist and is working towards their best interests. But if the lawyer is connected to the label and is being paid by them, how loyal are they really going to be to the artist? These lawyers, instead of trying to get the artist the best deal, they try and get the label the best deal, as the label is greasing their hands behind the scenes. Now, when the artist asks their lawyer if the deal is a good or bad one, even if it's terrible, the lawyer will advise the artist to sign the deal because he's secretly working for the label. This is actually what happened to the Migos, as after years of being signed to QC, they realized QC was robbing them using their lawyer. See, the lawyer the Migos had was secretly working for the record label and was advising the Migos to take bad deals and put more money in the label's pockets. The whole time, the Migos thought their lawyer was helping them. Instead, he was helping rob them. When the Migos found out, they sued and eventually settled the matter out of court. Record labels have found ways to make money out of artists no matter what, even if they die. In fact, when an artist dies, the record label makes millions, and I'm not talking about music streams, as that's just more money on top. I'm talking about life insurance policies. Did you know that when an artist signs a record deal, they are agreeing to allow the record label to open up life insurance policies on the artist, with the label being the beneficiaries? This is put in by the labels as insurance, just in case the artist dies after the label spent millions on them. This way, the label gets some of their money back if for whatever reason the artist dies. But it's been speculated that these labels might be taking advantage of that clause. Signing artists like drill rappers they know will likely pass away while they're still signed. It's even believed in some cases that these record labels are behind the artist's death themselves. French Montana himself confirmed that record labels are taking advantage of these insurance policies on their artists.
But now it's even crazier because they getting life insurance on artists. At least back then we didn't have that.
Somebody told me that.
Yeah.
Is a label signing an artist in good faith taking a life insurance out on him?
No, you praying on his death, praying on making millions on his death.
Or are they being realistic though?
Both. They're being realistic, and you're supposed to have life, life insurance anyway. When the label does it, if you don't have one.
As you heard for yourself, French Montana confirms that the labels are using these life insurance policies in nefarious ways. In the case of Michael Jackson, it's believed he was taken out by his record label, as he was beefing with Sony Records and Tommy Mottola before his passing. Michael, just like the Migos, had found out his lawyer was actually working for Sony Records and advising him to take bad deals. Sony also wanted to buy Michael's catalog, and they wanted his percentage of ATV Records, but Michael refused and instead went to war with the label. This is when his doctor accidentally prescribed too much substances and it took him out. Then Sony inks a deal with Michael's estate, who sold all the rights to his music to Sony after Michael refused. This is common for these labels. If they can't get what they want from you willingly, they go get it over your dead body. As you can see, signing a record deal isn't as great as they make it seem. What most people think is a dream is actually a nightmare you should avoid. If you're an upcoming artist, maybe change your goal of getting signed to instead being a successful independent artist. If you guys want me to make a video on how you can make it as an independent artist in today's industry, comment independent artists below, and if enough of you want to see that, I'll make sure to get it done. Well, that's it for this video, but before you guys go, make sure to like, comment, and share this video so that you can help spread the truth. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.